This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
You know what's smart? Enjoying a fresh gourmet meal at home that you didn't have to cook. Meet Factor, your loophole in the laws of mealtime. Chef-crafted meals delivered with a tap, ready in just 2 minutes. You know what's even smarter? Treating yourself without cheating your goals. Factor is dietitian approved, chef prepared, and you plated. Pretty smart, huh? Refresh your routine and eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Scouser Tommies on Anfield Index. I'm Jim Boardman and I'm with Jay Reid as always. And this episode's coming. We've not done a show for a couple of weeks, but if you hadn't done a show for 5 minutes, there'd be loads of games to talk about the way the season goes now. Seems like a lifetime ago that we had that week off over Christmas. So some games we've had since our last show, we've got the Manx, which was 2-2. We've got Spurs. The first half of that game in the League Cup, which is a 0-1. Don't like to say it that way around, but we lost that one. Or we're losing at half-time if you want to talk the way Virgil did. Played some team, can't think who they are. Accrington, 4-0, beat them at home. And then Forest 1-1, which, I don't know, just looking at those games, when you look at them, they're not the results that we would have liked, let's say that much. I mean, it's not the end of the world. There's still time in the League Cup game. And if you're going to lose any game, I think your League Cup games are the ones you want to lose rather than the League at the moment. Just keep everyone at arm's length. But we dropped points against the Manx, dropped points against Forest. But arguably, I think, both are in different ways. Tough games. I think the Manx at the time had gone on a bad run of losing after changing manager. And we've got another manager change we'll talk about in a bit. Not for us, of course. But yeah, the Manx had gone on a bad run. And it felt inevitable that they were going to get something out of that game. And I kind of predicted a draw is what it would be. Whether it happened in the way I expected is another matter. A game against Forest, I think, to be fair to Forest, I think people kind of writing them off as, they're not really meant to be here. It's sort of like, it's all a bit false. It's all a bit fake. I think the word they're meant to be. I think they're playing well. They've got a decent squad at the moment, decent side they can pour out. I think maybe in the end they'll suffer because fitness might come in. That's the only thing I would say with them. But they're not there by some fluke. They're there on merit. So they were going to be difficult games. Spurs as well. I mean, they're desperate to win a trophy. They're not sure what they are. That was always going to be a tough game, especially after the way we played them last time. I think, Accrington, no surprise there. But I think, Jay, I don't know, when you're looking at 4 games like that and only one of them a win, it does feel like it could be quite a bad time for us at the moment. But I think when you do analyse each game and look at it and think where we still are in the league, how we've still got half a League Cup tie to go to kind of get that back, and now we made so many changes against Accrington and still won. I don't think we're in that bad a place, but I think we're at a point now where we kind of need to put the brakes on.
Yeah, well, as we record this, we're, bang halfway through the middle of January, 16th. And no, all the usual New Year me shouts sort of come out, don't you? Like, going to turn over a new leaf. Well, do us a favour, bro. Let's go back to the old one. I don't like this new sort of approach that we're taking in this sort of new year. It's not fun. I liked it when we were just beating teams and getting 60 minutes in and putting our feet up and just going, this is easy, this football laugh. So yeah, if we can go back to that would be nice. And in the essence of dry January, can we have some more points, please? That would be nice as well. But yeah, I think, it's sort of what's been labelled as a blip, or, is this Liverpool's bad patch? But if you're going to have a bad patch, we've not picked up bad little areas for, but as you say, the League Cup semi-final when you've got the return leg at Anfield and you're only a goal down, with very controversial circumstances. We much sad how that goal was conceded and who scored the goal, whatever. It's not a bad situation to rectify that sort of football tie, as it's labelled in it, because it's the two legs. And then, the FA Cup, as you say, we negotiated pretty well. It was sort of a nostalgic tie, obviously, given, the famous old advert and, the fact that there's a lot of connections with Accrington in terms of players, managers, coaches, and, we also helped them in terms, allowing them to use the facilities of the Accent and stuff, because the weather's not been the greatest over the last couple of weeks in the Northwest, and, giving them the opportunity to, probably use facilities that maybe none of them players have used that much, sort of, state-of-the-art stuff, and no disrespect to Accrington, but on the day, the magic of the cup and all that, there was no sort of magic in the outcome of the result, but I'm sure there was a lot of people, players and families alike, who will take that day and remember it for the rest of their lives. And then, the couple of league games either side of them, not great, if we're honest, in terms of, the United draw was a poor sort of performance, in the respect that we allowed ourselves to get drawn down to their level. And I thought, under Slot, we've not really seen many of them games where we've allowed ourselves to slump to the level of teams below us and get drawn into, a dogfight, as it's labelled usually. And, especially at home, it just sort of felt like an opportunity missed there. And then obviously the most recent game against Forest, maybe the less said the better about the ones off the field in Nottingham, and some of the bile that they spout. But, on the field, they were just as sort of vile as well at times. And I was having a chat on Discord with a few people, and we were linked to a player, a left back in Italy, plays for Lecce. I think it's Patrick Dorgu, his name anyway. I'm going on a tangent here, but you'll get where I'm coming to. And basically, someone put an image up of him. He's 20 years of age, and I said, he is built like a brick shithouse. And people will be sat there going, brick shithouse, what does that really mean? I said, I'll explain on the podcast, because it's sort of a term that's localized, isn't it? A brick shithouse to those people is the toilet in the back garden back in the day. But it was solid. It weren't going anywhere. It was all weather, all purpose. You could throw whatever you wanted at it and it'd still be standing. There's
probably some of them that were still standing, like after the bombing in the war, and there'd still be some shit houses standing.
But then it sort of reminded me in tangent backwards towards the fellow who played at centre half for Nottingham Forest, Murillo. He is a brick shit house as well, in terms of physicality and actual nature. He was offering the shit house sort of behaviour. He was kicking lumps out of everyone, kicking lumps out of the ball into the crowd, but he can sort of play a little bit at the same time. And, we need a couple of them in our team. At the moment, so you're just looking at games like United, like Forest, and you think, we're just a bit too nice, a little bit too soft. And you do wonder if we'd have, a couple of brick shit houses in our team, which is probably now going to be the name of this podcast if we can fix it. If we had a couple of them, you're thinking, well, could we do with one at centre half? We've got really cultured, brilliant centre halves, and not a knock on those lads. But you think, if we had someone in Konate's build who was a little bit more snide, we all know the defensive midfielder is a role that we would like an upgrade on, and it's not a knock on Ryan Gravenberch, but he's not a de facto defensive midfielder. He's doing a job there. He's doing it well at times, but he's also doing it at times, sort of on the fly, and he's not doing it to the standard that a proper, normal, trained for his career to play, a la Fabinho, Mascherano type, would do that. And you think of those two players in general, snide, bit shithousey, maybe not the brick size of them, but the brick toughness. So yeah, I just think we've sort of gone through this little spell, and when times get tough, you look for players to stand up and be counted, and a couple of lads have, but it seems to me like over the last few games, a couple of lads have maybe hidden, and we sort of need to find a way to unlock, that sort of side to us, because as good as we have been, you can't just always be that way. We do need to find ways to win games, and it might be ugly. And Nottingham Forest proves, you don't have to play football to be successful. Football, like, look where they are at the table. When they want to play, they can. But when they want to shut up shop and basically say, right, this is what we've got, can you do it? And so far this season, not many teams have got really much joy out of them, and it works in ways. So we're gonna find, United done pretty similar. Teams are going to look at this now and go, right, we'll have to wait to get something out of Liverpool. We'll shut up shop. We'll bank a defensive five. We might put 3 or 4 in front of them. We might, aim for either the big fella up top or a couple of fast lads who we can ping into the channels. And we'll just try and nick something on the break, because it's proven that's how you can probably get something out of us. So now it's over to Slot and the boys to figure that one out.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've seen from Slot this season, is like within a game, comes out first half, all the plans, they're not working for whatever reason. Maybe a player's off the boil that day, or maybe a few are, maybe the opposition aren't playing the way they expected. And we see Slot kind of takes the players in the dressing room half time, him and the coaches do whatever they do, they explain some different ideas, some different approaches, some different techniques, come out second half and it's like a different team, and we just get the game back. And in a way, I suppose that's what happened against Forest in the end. We were kind of, I don't know, there was spells in the first half and I thought, we're going to end up losing this. We aren't going to get back into this. But eventually we did. And I suppose in the end, we sort of maybe we could almost feel disappointed in the end that, I don't know, if there was a little bit more time on the clock, maybe we could have sneaked a win in that game. But there wasn't more time on the clock. You can just play with what time you're given. I mean, Jota wasn't wasting any time, was he? Was it 21 seconds from coming on to scoring? That was one hell of a goal, and him and Tsimikas. And I think this is the game what we need, and we're in the middle of a transfer window now, and no doubt we'll get on to transfer window stuff. But I mentioned about Forest and said that what might cause them problems later on in the season is that they might start to find players going out injured, and that the squad's not as deep as they would have hoped with the kind of quality they want. But to be fair to them, they've got this far into the season without that hitting them, so they could be okay. But that to me is, as you've just said then, about having different kinds of players. And interestingly, when you say brick shithouse, that makes you think of a certain kind of a player. You can think like many down the years that have played for Liverpool. Even if it's not in the physique, if it's the way they play, players that you just wouldn't want to be up against as another player. But there's also what we want to avoid is the other word, use of that word, because shithouse can actually mean the complete opposite, can't it? When you say, just does confuse everyone. But yeah, if he's a bit of a shithouse, then he's not a brick shithouse, is he? So that's what we've got to avoid, getting too many of them. But I think you need to have the players that you can use for the game. You're not going to, ideally you're going to say, well, here's my first choice 11, and when they're all fit and firing and well, they're going to be my 11 that I put out. But I think there's times when you think, no, because this time we're playing that kind of team and we're doing that kind of thing, and we need this kind of player for that. And this is where, having some options comes in. And that's the problem. We haven't really got options, have we? With all due respect to Endo, he's a good sort of backup player, but he's not an option player. I don't think you'd bring him into the side because you were playing a certain kind of opposition and thought, right, this is an Endo one, this one. You'd bring him in because you knew that the other guy needed a rest, or maybe maybe wasn't right, maybe was injured in some way. We've not got the option there, and it's the same in the back four as well because we're so limited. Obviously Ibu and Virgil would get the nod every game, I would say, within reason. But maybe there's just a time when, as you say, you need another kind of centre back in there just to help out. So and it's the same up front. We've got plenty of choices up front though, so maybe we're okay. Of course, Jota scoring that goal means that everyone's decided that Darwin isn't needed now. But I still think we need those players. I still, which game is it? He was setting goals up. I can't remember even which game it was now. But
Darwin.
Yeah.
He set one up against Accrington.
Yeah.
On a play for Jota. And I don't know if he also done something else. And I got to be honest, I didn't see that game. I seen clips of the second half while I was out and about. But yeah, I didn't watch it fully, so can't fully comment. But I know he did set up Jota for the first.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
And he missed one as well, and he started to get slagged off for missing one, which is like, fair enough. I mean, the person who was having a bit of a go at him was Robbie Fowler, and if anyone's got big qualifications to have a go at another striker, it's him. So I'm not going to disagree with Robbie, but I do think it can be easy, sort of like, the way that you can pull out just, Darwin's played for 90 minutes. He's got some things right, he's got some things wrong, but it's always with strikers. It's always the shot that they fluff that gets picked out when, the assist that they got, or the holding up the ball or whatever else they do sort of doesn't get talked about because it's a little bit, it's not big enough news, is it? It's not, you can't make a full story out of it. So what they do is you just like to pick out these moments. But you're right, we do need strengthening. We do need some new ideas. I think even who we've got next, it's not going to be an easy game. And those last four, to me, I mean, two of them were cup ties, but they were all cup ties in the way they were played. Because obviously the Manx, it was do or die, and it was kind of their cup final. It was definitely their biggest game of the season because of what it meant to them in terms of where they were in the table and how much they were struggling. Spurs obviously needed to get one back over on us. Accrington, yeah, obviously cup tie, absolutely third round of the FA Cup, completely a cup tie. And Forest, again, it's one of those kind of games. You go into a ground that's kind of, they spent quite a bit of time out of the Premier League, and it feels like you're going back in time, watching games at their ground when you see it on TV. Maybe some of the people in the crowd as well are sort of going back in time as well. We'll not maybe dwell on that too long. But these are the kind of games where maybe I'm sure Slottsfeld, and there must be similar kind of scenarios in Holland, but I think this is the thing now. He's had a taste of these kinds of games, and he just needs to. I don't know. The players that we've got when they're all playing are good enough, so it's about getting the motivation, isn't it? And I think going back to that United game, the thing that got me was they were really, really well up for it, and we weren't really, really well up for it. But talking about players being picked on, Trent got quite a bit of abuse, didn't he, over that game? And he's played better since, and he's had ups and downs, and there's been a lot of stuff said about him potentially going to Real Madrid. Are we sort of making everything, the way the world is now, everything's black and white, isn't it? Everything on social media, you're either for or against something. There's no like middle ground. You can't change your mind. You've got to pick a side and stick to it, which is, why the world's so divisive. But with Trent, yeah, he's not being perfect. He's not being horrendous. Are we sort of, yeah, I mean, we've got to separate whatever's happening with him in terms of a contract, and we can blame the club as much as him on that and his agents and all the rest of it. But in terms of actual playing, did he get too much stick for what was essentially a bad game when he's had so many good games?
I think, especially when you're in the ground, which it was, you're caught in the moment. And there is no denying he was poor against United. Doesn't take anybody who doesn't really know much about football to say he's not doing very well here. Nothing's going right for him.
Why did he stay on so long?
Yeah, it genuinely, a lot of questions and accusations have been labelled at him, saying, is his head turned, his body language, but that game, that game means more to Liverpool fans and not no disrespect to Liverpool fans around the world, but local Liverpool fans, that's up there with the derby. Manchester United and Everton, they're the first two fixtures that come out to the start of the season that you go, right, where are they? And then you look for, your Cities, your Arsenals and whatever. But they mean everything, and to what is labelled as the Scouser in the team, which, I'd like to address the fact that there's another one in Curtis Jones, but, he must feel a little bit down when that song gets sung. That way,
he got Costa Simicus as well, but
Oh yeah, I mean it's possible. But the song weren't sung against United because there's too much noise around the Real Madrid rumours, and he's done not a lot in terms to quash them. Whereas Virgil and Salah have sort of semi-quashed them in terms of the saying the right things to sound as though they want to stay at the club. But then when you turn in a performance like that, it did get toxic. People around me, and a couple of times I was like, get him off. He clearly is having a bad time there. Get him off. Get Bradley on. Get something done because it's harming us more than it's benefiting us. And there's a lot of fingers of blame to be pointed in a lot of directions. But at the end of the day, there was only, for me in that situation, the finger should have been pointed at Slot to say, you can see what we can all see, surely, and he's having a bad time.
Yeah.
Sort it out. Get him off. It's not going to get any better because it was getting worse as the game goes on. Just get him off. And then you see the stats that come out afterwards about, what was it? 70, 80 minutes or something like that. Trent was on the field and didn't win a challenge or a tackle, and Bradley comes on and wins 3 in the space of a minute, and you're like, well, the desire's there from this kid. He wants to play for the shirt, and right there and then in that moment, Trent didn't look like he wants to play for the shirt. And
you felt Conor Bradley understood the occasion as well, which Trent should understand, but for whatever reason, he just wasn't at the races that day.
Yeah, and people have bad games. We all know this, but it's all caveated with what's going on in the background. And I think now, as we've said, middle of January, nothing's really happening in terms of incomings. Outgoings tends to be, a couple of loans, which we expect for a couple of youngsters and whatever. But then there's that massive, massive elephant in the room of the contract situation. And, with that elephant, it's draped with a big white robe that says Real Madrid on the back of it around Trent. And I think now we need to get to the point where the situation is just handled, much like the Klopp saga last year, where we didn't know Jayden was on his way until he announced it. But at least once he announced it, we were like, right, okay, we know we've got to the end of the season with this fella. Next season, we will move on, whatever it'll be, whoever it will be, we will move on. And I think now we need to know that with especially Trent. I think with Sarah and Virgil, they're a bit more mature in age, and I think it shows at times in their performances. They're quite able to literally switch on to game mode and say, right, for this 90 minutes or whatever. So, I'm going to put everything else out the room, and I'm just going to focus on the football. And they've been impeccable this season for us. With Trent, it does seem as though all the noise around him is possibly becoming a little bit distracting, and that's understandable. He's human after all. But if he's going to Madrid in the summer, whatever, like, everyone's got an opinion on it. But at least we know, right, we've got 4 or 5 months left with this guy. And if we are going to use him on a regular basis, that's down to Slot, and he's the man to assess the whole situation on and off the field, what's going on, where his brain is, where his ability levels are. Is he ready to play or not? Or, is he going to really bed in Conor Bradley and say, right, well, you're here for next season at least. Let's sort of get you right up to speed and ready. And we know where we stand then, and everyone can sort of be at peace with it. But the longer it rumbles on, I think the more of a distraction it's going to become. And, when we're not having the best little run of form in terms of the last few games, as we said, we could do with silencing as much of the distractions as possible and just allowing us to get back to the football. So yeah, there's a lot of things that need doing, but they seem just really quite easy to resolve in terms of, like, right, are they signing the contracts or not? Then we know where we go. Are we bringing players in or not? Then we know where we go. The chances are we're not going to sign any players, and the contract, we don't know if they're getting done or not. But we're possibly jeopardising, the fact that we've got a good lead in the league. We've got, progression in the Champions League. We're in the semi-final of one club. We've progressed in another one. Not calling the quadruple, but we're doing well on all fronts. We've seen this before, and we've also seen it being derailed by March. Like, can we at least find as many possible factors that could derail it and stop them in the tracks now before they actually get to the point of causing a derailment?
Yeah, it's all these little bits. Train-wise, if you knew what went into keeping the railways as safe as possible, you'd probably be quite bored by the end of reading it all. But it's the same thing. It's the little things that make a difference. It's the attention to detail that makes a difference. And uncertainty, I honestly think it's one of the worst places to be, is being in a place where you're uncertain about something that matters to you. So on a personal basis, it could be you're in a job situation and you've heard rumours going around about redundancies and things like that, and you don't know what's going to happen, who's going to go. Is it your place that's going to be affected? Is it true? Is it not? And it's horrible. And a lot of people will say it's actually worse knowing that something's going to be happening, that some announcement's going to come. That's worse than when you actually get the announcement. I've heard people say that time and again, because once you've got the announcement, it's like, right, that's still bad if it is bad news. But at least now you can go, right, so that's where I stand. Here's my options. I can now do something or other with those options and try and move forward with it. And I think this has got to be what we've got to do with those three. It's going on too long, and the uncertainty, and everyone's like, I still feel there's people sitting there waiting for the chance to call name any of the three players, all kinds of evil names about them because they've decided to leave. Likewise, there's people sat waiting, raring to go to sort of get out there and give them a big hug and say, come on, we're glad you're staying. And even that stuff's sort of hanging in the balance. I think it's got to be handled better than it has been, and it can still be handled well. It could be, it genuinely could be the case that, let's say Trent, he's had an offer off Real Madrid, and he's not sure. Because obviously for Trent, it means leaving the place he grew up in, not just the club, but the city, leaving family behind, maybe a big move like that. he's not sure about. Maybe he's already made his mind up. Maybe it's nothing to do with that. Maybe it's money. Who knows? But if he's not made his mind up and he's got different offers on the table, maybe we need to say, and it applies to all three, hurry up. We'll give you a couple of weeks to make your mind up on that. If he already has made his mind up, then I don't see the benefit to us of keeping it quiet. You know, we might as well just say that he's leaving, and this applies to all three, and maybe get a nice piece put together where they talk about, you know, how grateful they are. You know, the usual PR stuff. I could write it for them, say the right things about how grateful they are to have been a Red all this time and how they really want to make a difference and leave on a high with us being champions, and they'll never forget the time here and all that kind of stuff, because it's true. I'm sure that's the case. Whatever reason that they leave, I'm sure they've loved being here. If they do leave, and that's if they are leaving, but at least, you know, get it out there, get it announced, end the uncertainty, and then we're not reading all the stuff in the papers all the time, which, let's face it, when you read gossip, it's so many times just completely and utterly made up. Other times it's just agents trying it on, trying to get things through, trying to see what they can do, trying to get some interest in another player and all the rest of it, trying to sniff out whether there's any interesting players. It's all a big game, and it's just, we're playing into it in the worst possible way. I get the way that we've always sort of said this thing about we'll keep our business in-house and all the rest of it, and I wouldn't have an issue with that. But the thing is, as you said before, we're slap bang in the middle of January now, halfway through the transfer window. Chances are none of them are going anywhere this window. I mean, there was supposedly a bid from Rail, which didn't sound very serious with the money that was supposedly bid. You know, just like there was a bid for Salah a while ago from Saudi, which wasn't high enough to be serious at the time, in my opinion. But so the three of them are staying. Let them until summer at least. Let's just end the uncertainty, know where we stand, and let's make the most of them if we've only got them till the end of the season. And if we've not, let's enjoy knowing that we've got them for even further. It's just frustrating. Another thing, a sort of slightly different thing, a bit of uncertainty. There's been no announcements on this yet, but you can tell why. Another thing to do with three different individual items, I suppose. Well, Liverpool supposedly new kit deal next season, Adidas. I don't think there's ever been any official announcement yet, but it's like the worst kept secret. And I've actually seen the usual leaks have now started to come out. And it looks like there's going to be three different badges on three different kits. There's a red home kit, a white away, I think, and a green third kit. But before everyone gets too carried away, the only thing about that green one is that it just puts me in mind of the kit we had when the Premier League started. And I think we were possibly the first televised game in the new Premier League, the first one that Sky had when they took the rights over. And we played away to Forest and we had that green kit on. So it just reminds me of that a little bit. So we've got to make good memories, haven't we? But I think it makes sense, you know.
You'll know better than I. Was that not the kit that Ronnie Rosenthal wore when he smashed it against the bar?
I think it probably was, yeah. I think it was definitely the same era of kits, whether it was that away one or whether yeah, definitely. I can't remember now which kit he had on. It's that definite same era. I mean, I love Adidas and I love the kits we have with them, but, you know, there were some times when they weren't great. The green and white diamond one, the green and white quarters one that we had, all I can think of with that one, I know people have got good memories, but to me, it's still that horrible cup final against the Manx.
Yeah, and the green and white one, to me, will always, the quarter one would always be the Robbie Fowler.
Yes, that's a good first. Yeah.
Crashing the party about the Cantona's return. You know, sending Gary Neville down the road for the MEN news just before it came out at 5 o'clock. And yeah, like there's something about the green kit, like these leaks of the supposed kit. I mean, that one just looks majestic. Like I love it. I'm not one for going and buying, you know, replica shirt. I think I'm about 20 years past the age of doing that now. But that is a nice number. I think for me, I think the green obviously comes from, you know, the moments of, you know, back in the day there wasn't so many kits as there is now. So, you know, if you're away from home, you just wear that kit. And when now, you know, you've got third kits and stuff like that. But also the badge, like the Liverpool badge, you know, with the flames and the banner across the bottom with the, you know, the the established 1892, and then the Shank of the 8 to the top, which you never walk alone in green. And I think like, you know, it was sort of synonymous, like, you know, the green meant, you know, like it was a Liverpool thing, you know, and I know we've had some mad kits over the last, 15 years or something like that, you know, all from Toxic Thunder and all that business. You know, to literally someone's done a lucky dip on the highlight, depends on which one are we having this year. But if we can, you know, hark back to, you know, the retro classics of Adidas, and yes, I was right, it was the green with the white stripes over the sleeve that Ronnie Rosenthal missed the open roll in.
Yeah.
You know, just going back to green, white, red, you know, simple, classy, and, you know, people will like kits for whatever they like it for, but I just think, you know, we've had a couple of shockers, and the one we wore the other night is not a bad kit, but it baffles me how this Nike tick is sort of, you know, vertically up in the air.
It's supposed to raise awareness of women's football.
Right.
Apparently. And I'm yet to know how or why that does it. I only know because someone told me.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that, but like...
But every time you see a Nike thing, you know, a Nike logo sort of hanging off the wall of the shop or something because it's been hit by bad weather or something, now you'll think of women's football.
Right. I mean, I'm sure some brainiac has been paid a hell of a lot of money to come up with that, but I think there's better ways to raise the awareness of women's football and raise that sport than, you know, an elevated Nike tick on what is predominantly worn by the men's football team, and other women do wear it and whatever, but, you know, it's more widely seen across the world on the men's football team, so I think they could come up with a better sort of slogan and advertising scheme than that, but yeah.
Well, these are the people who couldn't produce, was it goalkeeper kits for the England women's team?
Yes, because there wasn't the demand.
Yeah.
But then there was, and then when they made the demand, it was not enough because, you know, the demand was outweighing what they were going to produce. So, you know, schoolboy out of there, or schoolgirl out of. So yeah, like back to the retroness of it, like, you know, it is a positive thing to look forward to next season, and it would be nice if, you know, you could see all the AI images of, you know, Mo Salah in this green kit, and, you know, Virgil van Dijk in whatever white kit we're going to have, and, you know, if we're going to go classy red and, you know, a little bit of pinstripe, which I think is the rumour, much like the Fernando Torres, Steven Gerrard era with the big floppy collar, but maybe a bit more stylishly fitted. You know, if Trent was going to stick around, you know, it'd be nice to see him in that as well. But it remains to be seen. But I suppose we shouldn't always look back in the past of the good times, you know, because we've actually had good times since then. Maybe not so much for others.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.